Hello everyone, it's Carmine from New York, live, coming at you from the Big Apple, New York City. And where are we today? We are at one of the most pristine beaches here in the city of New York. We're on Staten Island, one of the most beautiful beaches here in Great Kills. This beach and park is run by the federal government. It is absolutely beautiful. We'll give a quick turn so you can see everything that's here. The beautiful ocean, that's the Atlantic Ocean. We have the Verrazano Bridge is in the background. Lots of parking, beautiful, all natural sand dunes, plenty of places to take photographs here on this beautiful beach on Staten Island. This is just great. We're here today to take landscape photographs. Now, a couple of classes back, I discussed how you really shouldn't take your expensive cameras to the beach because sand is blowing. However, the exception is a day like today. It's not windy. There's nobody on the beach to kick up any sand. So it's safe. I deem this beach safe for photographers to take their beautiful cameras, whether it's digital or film. However, what did I say? Film? Well, you know what we're going to shoot today, folks. This beautiful Yashica camera. Folks, this is my little pride and joy. This is the Yashica Electro 35 GTN. They made the GSN. In fact, the Electro 35 series from Yashica was so popular that in Japan and Hong Kong, they made over 8 million Electro 35 cameras. This is mine. This is a 1973 GTN. The T was for the black model, the GSN, the S, that was for the silver model. I prefer the black model, only for aesthetics. So it is equipped with a 45mm f, hold on, buckle up, it's a 1.7. Yep, this is a 1.7 ultra wide, fast aperture. It has 6 elements in 4 groups. Right over here is the opening for the light meter. As you go up and down on the film speed scale, this little aperture, these little blades open and close to let more or less light in. Genius. Lights on the top to tell you if you're overexposed or underexposed. The viewfinder has the same lights on the inside, and it is a parallax correcting rangefinder. In other words, as you get closer, the frame lines inside the viewfinder will move back and forth to make sure you have the proper alignment. Let's see. It's an aperture priority camera. Now, what does that mean? A, it means this Electro 35 is battery dependent. Okay, you set the aperture, the camera will set the shutter speed. So let's say you're on location, like here today on this beautiful beach, and you forgot to pack an extra battery. What do? Are you doomed? You're not doomed at all, because Yashica came up with a fail-safe way to still use this camera with a dead battery or no battery, which is right on the bottom. The battery is right on the bottom. You used to take a mercury battery, but have no fear, Amazon sells a replacement battery. So what do I mean by a fail-safe system? If you have no battery or a dead battery, you can still use this Electro 35 GTN. It goes to a fail-safe shutter speed. It's very high. It's 1/500th of a second. Okay, so all of your shutter speeds, all of your shots will be at one shutter speed, 1/500th of a second. And you have to set your own f-stop right on the top. So you would need a handheld light meter. You set your light meter for the ISO or ASA film. You set it at 500th of a second, and you better have a bright day like today to be able to take shots, but it will work. It will operate. Even if you have to shoot wide open at f1.7, at 500th of a second, you'll still get images. Let's see. Now I mentioned that this is aperture priority. You set the aperture, it will pick the shutter speed. The shutter speeds on the Electro 35 GTN are stepless. This is what I mean. As you look through the viewfinder and you press the shutter down halfway, the indicator lights will show you red, too much light, yellow, too little light, and you adjust that's annoying, and you adjust your f-stop accordingly until the lights disappear, and that means you have perfect exposure. The shutter speed is not rigid. It does not have to only pick for itself 1/250th of a second, 1/125th of a second. It's not rigid. It's stepless, which means if the computer inside determines that the correct shutter speed is 1/312th of a second, that's what it'll shoot at. If it determines that the correct shutter speed should be 1/72 of a second, that's what it'll shoot at. That's what made this camera the choice of those who love rangefinders, street photography, landscape photography. This is what made it their '1 choice. All steel construction, I might add. The ASA range for this camera is from 25 ISO to 1000 ISO. Made in Japan. However, some of these models were made in Hong Kong. How can you tell? Well, first on the back, this says Japan, and the beginning of the serial number does not have an H. That means it was made in Japan. If you pick out a Electro 35 GTN or GSN and the serial number starts with an H, it was built in Hong Kong. Either one are just fine. So, what else can I tell you about this camera? All right. So now let's say you're going to do what I'm going to do today, which is take beautiful landscape photos, bright sunny day. Some clouds are moving in, but that's okay. Now, I love high contrasty black and white photos. In the camera today, I'm loaded with HP5. It's 400 ISO. But you guys know from a previous video that I made shooting in the snow, I like to add a filter. Now, my choice, my weapon of choice, when it comes to adding contrast to a black and white film photograph is red if I'm going to shoot clouds. But if I'm going to shoot everything else like this landscape today, you know I'm going to use an orange filter. Now, hold on. I am not your run-of-the-mill, shoot-by-the-book photographer. I go back to the 70s, the early 70s, when I was in photography school. Back then, there were these color film correcting filters. This is a made in Japan 85B orange color correcting filter made by Vivitar in Japan. This is probably just as old as the camera. It is orange, true, but not orange to the point where it's just an orange filter for black and white photography, okay? This is, let me hold it with my other hand. What this filter was made for was to warm color film to make it daylight film, okay? So now you can see, yes, you're looking at it color-wise, but it's an 85B filter. When used with black and white film, the contrast it gives you is just remarkable, okay? Now, look at the sky, for example. Yes, you can see the clouds. However, the orange filter does give it a little bit more definition, but you really can't tell because this filter is, the camera rather, is filming in color, okay? But when you see the results, which will be right now at the end of this video, when you see the results from using an 85B filter for black and white film, you will be pleasantly surprised. Now, that's not to say if you have orange filters, don't use them. Of course, use them. But here's two things. An 85B, all glass, made in Japan lens filter for your black and white photography, number one, gives better contrast to your film and your photos than a plain orange filter. And number two, that high quality, made in Japan, optical glass filter, 85B, no matter who it's made by, is about 70% less than if you had to buy a B plus W made in Germany filter that costs like $75. These filters made in Japan, 85B, that give you better results, they're like $4, brand new, new old stock. They're not making these anymore. These are new old stock in the box, $3, and like $4 for shipping. And the results are just incredible. You'll see in about 2 minutes. So, one last thing I want to talk to you guys about that nobody talks about, and I don't understand why. In photography school, we had lesson after lesson about how to improve your photographs. And yes, lens shade. It is, believe it or not, very important. It's important for two reasons. Number one, it'll block the shade. It'll block the sun from giving you unwanted light strays on your lens. But more importantly, it protects your lens from bumps and getting knocked. Believe me, when you're in a crowded situation on the street or even in your own car or at home, this keeps your lens protected. It's a shield. Now, that's number one. Number two, vented lens shades. This is a vented lens shades, which means you see these holes, right? You see these holes that go around? They're made for one purpose. They're not made to keep it light. They're made for rangefinders. As I look through this now, okay, I can see this, but I can see right through the lens shade because it's vented, okay? It lets you see right through the lens shade. That's when you use a vented lens shade. See that? Okay. And always buy a metal one, okay? I do have on here a regular UV filter, also made by Hoya. Oh, I'm sorry, not Hoya. This is a K&F. This is a K&F multi-coated, wonderful UV filter, also for protection, keep the lens safe, all right? I think that's about it. You know what I think it's time for? I think it's time for you guys to see the photographs from today shot with the Yashica GTN. Take it easy, guys. Let's look at the photos right now.